Hey, good morning, everybody. It is January 7, 2026, and you are watching or listening to the Daily AI Show. I am Beth, and with me in the studio today is Andy as well. Uh, Good morning, Jude. Good morning, B. Good morning, Jeff, in the chat. So great to see you all. And Andy, how are you doing today?
Oh, well, I'm nursing a cold, but and while I'll sound croaky today, I, I think there's a lot to discuss. Lots more news coming out of CES and some other exciting developments in the world of AI.
Absolutely. So hit us with your first story. What do you want? What's top of mind for you today?
Um, yeah, there's a couple that they're kind of equivalent. First, I just wanted to mention that what we're seeing in the advancement of reasoning in AI models is this idea of recursive
Hmm.
inference. So that the loop, we discussed this yesterday, and this concept of looping, like the ability to achieve with a smaller model or with even a large model, more accurate results and better reasoning logic by doing recursive inference, returning loops with some kind of memory that it acts on. Well, DeepSeek, which
Hmm.
is this China AI startup, has just added an interleaved thinking feature to its chatbot, which is this idea.
Right.
Um, and it performs multi-step research with reasoning interspersed. I love the English terms here. They're capturing again this looping idea, interspersed throughout the process of the dialogue, assessing information credibility between actions rather than thinking and then generating a finalized response.
Hmm.
And then the other interesting point about DeepSeek is that their monthly active users in December of 2025 is now 132 million. That's a lot of users. And from January, they had 34 million. So up to 132 from 34.
Hmm.
Reckon that. That's more than 4x, right? Anne is with us.
Good morning. I had the ultimate need for the house robot today. We've had a little bit of just-in-time distribution issues with our coffee accoutrement during this, I mean, we don't know what way is up really. We're taking this first business week of the year off, more or less. I DoorDashed coffee to my house this morning. I live within, I don't know what, 0.4 miles from 4 different Starbucks, but it just wasn't coming together. The robot was still sleeping, and now I can start the day. I came here specifically for Andy's news because it has been so good recently.
That's so good.
Well, I hope not to disappoint. So here, go ahead, Beth. What's your first one?
Well, no, you were just saying that the DeepSeek users have increased, and where is DeepSeek? Is that on Hugging Face? Is that like where?
No, DeepSeek is a model that you can access through a number of sites, whether Poe
Right.
or you can just go directly to DeepSeek and use that. So around the world, 132 million people are monthly active users. So within a month window.
Very
And
cool.
compare this to approximately 1 billion using ChatGPT, which is the far and away leader. But DeepSeek is right up there in terms
Right.
of monthly active users with the second wave crowd of AI models.
Right. Part of why I was curious was that like because you can use DeepSeek in so many places, like who's counting that? But absolutely, because part of the news that we're seeing is the idea of the 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 idea that, like, yes, it's not necessarily the best model, but is second best for almost free just as good, right? We've
very
talked
inexpensive.
before about, like, are we in a place where you're fine, right? For 95% of what you're going to ask something to do, you're fine using a model that is much less expensive. Yeah. Very cool. All right, give us your number 2. I'll put up while I pull up mine.
Okay, I'll do another one, which is interesting. Right. So AI models, and specifically large language models, are used to do spreadsheets, and now they're becoming more and more competent in doing those kinds of financial analysis type things. But when you get to the realm of pure mathematics, where mathematicians are working on proofs and developing new theorems in the sort of the ethereal world of mathematics, LLMs are not very impressive. And one of the world's biggest mathematicians, a fellow named Joel David Hampkins, has slammed AI models used for solving mathematics and calls them zero and garbage, adding he doesn't find them useful at all. He highlighted AI's frustrating tendency to confidently assert incorrect, conclusions and resist correction. He'll argue with him. And he said, quote, "If I were having such an experience with a person, I would simply refuse to talk to that person again." Now, bring on Axiom Math. Founded by 24-year-old dropout from Stanford, Karina Hong, it raised a $64 million seed round.
Wow.
To build an AI mathematician. And major investors are behind this, including Graycroft and Menlo Ventures, a couple of VC firms whose names I recognize. And its core architectural idea is to move from generic next token prediction, which creates hallucinations, as we know, in LLMs, and instead use a stack that tightly couples a language modeling sort of kernel with formal proof systems and programmatic reasoning from mathematics. So it's not trained on the broad web and conversational data. So it's not going to spin out, and you can't kind of jailbreak it and have it talk about, politics or anything. It's a math-specific shell of formal mathematical languages, proof checkers, and verification-driven training signals that goes beyond standard LLMs. So it doesn't have all those problems, and as a result, because each reasoning step is meant to be checked by a proof engine as it's running, it is virtually free of hallucinations that are common in generic LLM outputs. So, David, check it out. Get Axiom Math. I mean, you should probably be a consultant to Axiom Math. Maybe he is. I don't know. But his complaints about LLMs, which are valid, are going to be solved by this new startup, Axiom Math.
That's very, very cool. Thank you. So I have a research health story. Stanford published Sleep FM, a new AI foundation model, and it can predict over 130 health situations based on a recorded night of sleep. So that is amazing. And if anyone has done a sleep study, it's not the best sleep. You're not sleeping in they're not recording your actual night of sleep. They're recording your actual night of sleep with stuff attached to your head, with knowing that a whole room full of people are recording and watching you. So I don't see if this is something that you have to do a sleep study for, but there are a ton of things that are seen through how you are sleeping. So 65,000 participants, their data was 600,000 hours of their data from those participants analyzing brainwaves. heart activity, breathing, and muscle signals. So that sounds like this is something that would come from the sensors on your head. I really want, like, to can you just bring the robot and watch me just while I'm sleeping? That would be
that would be
uncomfortable. That would be uncomfortable, but better for me.
But better.
Yeah. So I've done a sleep study at Stanford, and long ago.
Are you one of the 65,000?
No. No. But I use a CPAP for obstructive sleep apnea, and this is something that you have to, go through a torturous night in a sleep study to try to get insurance coverage for the CPAP system and the correct pressure assignment and so on. And I've long been a proponent of, hey, the modern BiPAP systems can measure you just by using it. You don't have to go through a sleep study. And it's only a few $100s rather than $10,000 for a sleep study to buy a CPAP and use it. And then you read out on the data that it says, oh, you had 16 hypopnea events last night that we corrected automatically because we're a smart CPAP system. Anyway, so this is all about the advances in technology and is supported by AI to do real-time measurement and aggregate the measurements across the very large populations. So I want to bring our attention to one of the major announcements in the health sector at CES, and that is a device called the Withings Body Scan 2. Okay, it looks like a bathroom scale, but it's more than a bathroom scale. It's a comprehensive health monitoring platform. It measures over 60 biomarkers about cardiovascular function, cellular health, and metabolic efficiency. And that was previously only available in a clinical setting, like you'd have to go into a study to have all of these biomarkers measured. And it adds AI personalization using the collective network of the Withings ecosystem eventually, where you would have billions of measurements from hundreds of thousands or millions of users of this system. And it would establish your individual physiological baseline personally, but it would also compare that to all of the others that it's collecting so that you could see deviations not only in your own baseline, but deviations from the expected measurements that would come from other people of similar, age and health levels and so on. So it's medical grade technology and it's going to cost around, I think, $600. But that's an amazing bargain for what it gets you. It takes, you can do it repeatedly. Of course, you do it daily if you want to. It's a 90-second scan and it evaluates. Let me tell you what's on the device. So for the $600, you get an impedance cardiography system for cardiac pumping efficiency. You get a 6-lead electrocardiogram for electrical activity and rhythm. You really want to, be aware of, variations in your heart's performance. You want to have that perfect sinus cardiac rhythm. And it has ultra high frequency bioimpedance spectroscopy for cellular health, vascular age assessment, and glycemic regulation. So, one of the things that's, a major health thing is, putting a glycemic monitor on your thing. Well, this one package is going to get all of those things I mentioned for you at a very, very low cost. So it'll talk to you about, it'll figure out based on all of these measurements, what your cardiac efficiency is, what your cardiac reactivity is, because there are ways that you can test yourself by, maybe doing squats on the scale. I don't know. It derives what your heart age is, hypertension risk notifications, arterial stiffness, and vascular age are measured, cellular composition from this spectroscopy. That's a very interesting thing. And basically, this is an early warning system for your health in the home that's powered by AI, and it's also aggregating across the network in the ecosystem of users of Withings, so that ultimately, if a lot of people adopt this, then you'll have the sort of system-oriented health and longevity expert right in your bathroom or fitness room, wherever you want to put it.
Wow. And for 600, I mean, there must be also a subscription, right?
Probably. I think you get you're paying for the hardware, and then to be a part of that network, you're going to pay something monthly.
But I mean, it's not an AI story, but it's certainly a story in the beginning of 2026 that
I think,
in the US,
it is an AI story because there's
what
AI
I'm going to say
required in it in order to do all of that with just the hardware that's available there. So this is part of what's happening overall, is that there are many products that are coming out that are powered by an AI component, but that's not the main product feature set, right? It's not like you're talking to an AI in this context. Although, that Withings system might be, integrated ultimately with other AI so that it will do the interpretation for you. Because when I don't know about you, but when I get my blood panel from, a blood test, the first thing I do is I copy that and I give it to ChatGPT and I say, explain. Oh, you're and it just gives you a very thorough thing.
The announcement the other day that this is not a tumor. Absolutely. I didn't mean that your story wasn't an AI story. I was setting up that in one of the main stories in 2026 is people's health insurance premiums doubling, tripling, because the subsidies are no longer in effect. And to pay something for $600 and then like, even if the subscription is a couple hundred, right? You're still way below and could go conceivably to a catastrophic level of, like insurance only covers after something. I mean, it just seems like this is an amazing tool at this time in the US.
I would agree on, it's like this is one I could talk up one side of the street and down the other for sure. Because, I mean, first of all, the math really maths on this, right? Like my Peloton was probably 3 times that. I bought it during COVID, so it was probably as much as possible and took as long as possible to get here. And so that's whatever thousands. And then I think I might pay $99 a month or something for the app to continue talking to me. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter because it's just what we do now, right? The subscription lifestyle. And I love that I have like preventive and like health maintenance stuff built into my daily life. Like that's dope and obviously going to save me lots of money down the road and heartache and stuff. I believe in that stuff. However, net cradle to grave, this is a very, very expensive endeavor because of the data that you're giving up that's out into the world. And I think Jen is kind of intimating, and I'm guessing this is one of the places that she would go, most people would, is what happens when the insurance companies and what is the thing called, company, or wherever their data is living. I mean, there's very little regulation that would prevent them from sharing that data or leaking that data. I mean, we have the thing where the genetic, the company that does the family gene pool thing, like leaked their data to a whole bunch of places. So to me, that could end up could really get in the way of your lifelong health, would be if some of these markers were indicated to the institutions that have to decide how insurable we are. That sounds scary. The other thing is that it's a bigger decision than maybe some people think about, to learn about your health in that detail, especially as it signals things down the road. Like making a decision to know some of the things that are now knowable about our health and about our future health is something that I'm guessing we're going to see more and more of just the turmoil involved with finding out that you have a genetic fatal disease, and are we equipped as a society to deal with like tens of thousands of people learning their lifespan rather than betting on the chance of, I guess, living forever if you put two things on the, the end of the spectrum. I'm also very, very curious about the target market because there is such a, there's such a unhealthy like diet culture, even if as you add some of the stuff that people are becoming obsessed about their metrics and stuff, like you also could be generating a very neurotic, I'm guessing mostly elder millennials and Gen Xers, a very neurotic, even more neurotic generation. If everybody's on their thing, measuring every indicator every day.
Those are all valid concerns. But let me address the privacy one, which is
yes, please. I'm interested.
For this particular device, it has GDPR and HIPAA compliance, and ISO 27001 and 27701 certifications. So they're addressing the privacy concerns. And it's also going to be integrated with Apple Health. So we must be worried about that. I think your second point is something that they can't address. I mean, they want to address it in a different way, which is, hey, we're going to give you peace of mind because we're going to give you early warning.
Yeah, and that's one side of the story. And also, like, I love the privacy setup, but just to be a little bit cynical, that doesn't help if the powers that be decide that they're going to give away the data. And I know that it would be the death of the company.
Mean if HIPAA as regulations is changed someday in the future?
Yeah. Okay. So do you think that HIPAA will begin to address the AI issues, or has it already? I don't even know. What is the status of HIPAA and AI?
What HIPAA governs is your personal health data.
Yes.
Right. So
is it considered that you've consented for the sharing of your personal health data by stepping on the thing and sharing your personal health data with the company?
Especially
right? Like that's one of
what the company is, by becoming HIPAA compliant, the company is basically attesting to it does not reveal your personal health data to anyone. Yeah. So yeah.
So, but that must mean that it's anonymized, right? Because it is. We're aggregating the health data.
There are stiff regulations that govern the movement of personal health information, and HIPAA is the governing.
They're comparing you. The part of the subscription is you're being compared to people in your thing. So that's just got to be anonymized.
That's the anonymous.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. Yeah.
I mean, okay, on all of these, and I love that. I love the intention around the security and stuff. But if you have that on your phone, and you think of one of the things. If you have your Apple Health, I mean, if you have your little app on your phone, correct, that's attached to your thing. Well, so one of the things that a lot of women have had to grapple with is not being able to use period trackers because of the life and death aspect of anyone finding out that you haven't had your period when you were supposed to have your period. So there's a reason that women don't want to have some of that data out into the world because the stakes are just too high. And we are in a science fiction world. We do live in an aspect of The Handmaid's Tale. And so there is I think there's a chilling effect for some of the population of letting that information go out into the world. It's unfortunate. It'd be wonderful if we weren't concerned about, because the personal health management component is just brilliant. And I would love for everyone in my family, I'd love my dad to immediately get on that thing, right? And my husband, I don't really want to outlive all these guys, right? But I'm probably going to. So they should try to keep up. But there's just, I mean, whether it's the zeitgeist of worry about privacy or the reality of privacy vulnerability for your
Mhm.
information being out there. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it's the olden days. Maybe it's it's a padlock on a paper bag, really. But the peace of mind of not having some of that data out there, I'm kind of holding on to it a little bit. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
That's valid. That's
I
totally
haven't
fair.
gotten an Aura ring. I haven't gotten a, I look at here. This will tell it all. This is my step counter. This is my Fitbit. I've had the Apple Watches. I've had the Garmin. This is me right now. So, and I also
All
have
right.
my mouse.
Here's a CES weave on that.
Let's hear it.
So at CES, Gyges Labs, GYGES, showcased the Voci Smart Ring. This is an AI-powered wearable that moves beyond health tracking to function as a voice-activated note-taking device triggered by hand gestures and a physical button if you want to. So it's a combination of health tracker and a voice recorder. And it's a titanium ring, up to 8 hours on a single charge, transcribes conversations in over 112 languages, has speaker identification for multi-party conversations, and uses encryption to keep those recordings private. So it's joining a wave of voice recording wearables launched at CES, including SwitchBot's AI Mind Clip and Plod's Note Pin. We've seen a bunch of advertisements for Plod, and they're packaging all of these things in a space called cognitive assistance, the note-taking part of it. That is, my cognition is good in the moment, but ask me about it 2 minutes from now, and I may not be able to remember what I said or what that cognition's result was. So cognitive assistance is AI in wearables, and with these tools and functions, including recording and digest and translation, etc., that help your declining cognition abilities, as in my case.
That's very cool. And actually also those things are also one of the health conditions that the sleep study could talk about, right? And part of what's interesting about these things is that we're being alerted to possible health complications before they typically would be caught, right? So early warning about patterns that look like they might go into dementia could change the way that you engage with, I don't know, brain exercises, medication, all that kind of stuff. Things like Parkinson's as well. And I feel like wasn't there a story a decade ago or yesterday, because what is a time in the age of AI, but there was a story about someone being about AI being able to detect Parkinson's, maybe just from speech or just from something. And we're seeing, we're just seeing a whole bunch of ways of detecting something from a much earlier standpoint.
Yeah.
That's very cool. The other thing that I want to say in terms of what Anne was talking about is yes, what we really need now is also the conversation with the client or the patient, right? I am remembering there was a story, not AI, a while ago, like literally a decade ago or 2 decades ago, of a man who got an X-ray of his lung, and there was a dark spot that looked like that could be cancer and it could be a problem, and went just freaked out about it, and his health massively declined. And ultimately he died, and that was determined because of the spot, right? That spot indicates these things about what's happening for you. Well, they unearthed an X-ray from 10 years before, and the difference between the X-rays was nothing. The spot was there before also, right? It was what the man did with the information saying, "Oh, I am, I'm compromised,
I'm terminal,
therefore," right? And markers for breast cancer, markers for pre-dementia, markers for Parkinson's, those don't necessarily mean that your health journey is going to look like the aggregated typical health journey, right? Everyone's very individual, and I think that that's just not something that that's not a message that we get very often, because it's aggregated health. That's what doctors do, right? And part of what excites me about these things is that it starts to create a personal baseline, right? These are things that are personalized to me, and therefore it's a personal signal that it's out of balance, not how not the group signal, because my measures are all out of whack. But they're in whack for me. So, all right, cool. So we're about 30 minutes in. Andy, do you have another story? Because I would like to talk a little bit about the new valuation of X and some of the stories that are happening around that.
Yeah, I can come back. I have a couple of quick points later about vibe coding in Cursor and also in Claude Code. So I'll save those for after or another day.
Okay. So there has been a big the story about the evaluation. Okay, XAI hits 230 billion valuation with NVIDIA backing, and that's Series E funding. Andy knows what those mean. Qatar's sovereign wealth fund is part of this as well. And it's just it's a valuation story at its core. The side story that is also happening is the large amount of non-consensual, that's what it's called, but large amount of Grok being asked for images that are essentially abusive and go to the place of CSAM, child sexual abuse material, maybe is what that is called.
Yeah.
And there have been things like so I know that sometimes there's a pushback about what's the harm. I can talk about what's the harm, but what's the harm if it's a person that doesn't exist? But people did this to a picture of Sweden's prime minister, right? It is not just people that don't exist. And there was a stat that came out that said one of the Grok generates one of these images every 1 minute. Now, for the most part, when you ask Grok to do something for you, it's public unless you've paid for the private level of usage. So that's part of how this is seen, because you're asking Grok on Twitter, right? There's a record of this. So the context of the story is 200 billion valuation, while also having this very problematic increased level of usage that is it's like revenge porn, it's like non-consensual nudity in a way that is potentially indistinguishable, because AI is so good now, right? You can deep fake. So thoughts. I have just seen conversation about this explode, and I do believe that it is in part because of the Swedish Prime Minister's story, because it's like it's always been a problem to be a woman in public with a public profile, but it's so easy to do, right? It's free to do. And there was another comment from a gentleman who I suspect was from Texas, because his comment was that so basically, I need to show a government ID in order to witness ethically produced consensual pornography. But to generate it myself in the most horrific conditions, I just need to hop on a free website.
Yes.
I avoid things that Elon Musk has touched because of his unwillingness to even reflect reasonably on these societal issues that are important to us, when his platforms, both X and XAI, Grok, and in concert, the two of them together, can be used in such abusive ways. At the far end of the moral spectrum, you have Anthropic, right?
Right.
Which would never countenance that kind of use of Claude.
Anthropic won't give you song lyrics because they
Mhm.
are copyrighted to someone else.
So, I know that, what's being built by Colossus is a really powerful AI, but I see that as the dark side. That's my opinion. So I don't play with those.
It is, yeah. And
I was gonna say I have just a comment, and I do have a little bit of gumshoe reporting to report on if we have a chance to pivot to another topic really quickly. But I do also have a little bit of information on the kind of deep fake proofing of for content creators and public figures and stuff that I can share. I can share it now, or I can share it later.
Now is good, I think,
because it kind of aligns with our topic later if we were going to. But so one of the things that is a priority for our community, She Leads AI, is that when we are on screen, it is a very safe space, right? We know who's there. We know that they are who they say they are. So we have like if you want to get a Zoom link for Social Saturdays, for example, because it's open to the public, you have to do stuff. You have to put your LinkedIn in there. If you don't have a LinkedIn, you're not getting a Zoom link. It's just, it's unfortunate that decision making is driven by a few bad apples, but it is just the way it is. So we have gatekeeping there. We have gatekeeping on the actual meetings. So we ask, and most people comply. First name, last name, not your email, like beginning, not any of that. First name, last name. We do ask for pronouns. Most people don't add their pronouns quite yet. And we don't need to talk about that in the comments. The pronoun versus no pronoun debate has been asked and answered currently. But the next shift that we will make is that there's a company that we're working with called NotBot, where we verify our identities on our side using our passport, and the company doesn't have the information, but it's like a little floating QR code, and it'll say Ann Murphy, Social Saturday, and it'll be verified that it's me. That same thing can go on all the content that I create, so that basically, to me, it's a signal of it's becoming more accessible and available, that normal people like us would use this kind of technology in order to help with security and privacy, and also prevention of deep fakes of ourselves, or not prevention of deep fakes, but some way for the Joe public to verify that this thing actually came from me, which becomes a lot more important.
Right.
Higher stakes situations. Not that important for my TikTok that gets 150 views. But I'm really interested in what it's going to be like to be on the front end in my, at least in my bubble, right? On the front end of saying to people, if you want to participate in our, stuff, you got to verify who you are. And I imagine that I will lose people, a big chunk of people, pretty fast, because it's a pain in the butt. You have to download it. You got to get your passport out. Not everybody has a passport, la, la, la. But I see this as a shift in the right direction. And like when we say like the cavalry is not coming and we are the cavalry, I think these are the kind of things that consumers have to take into their own hands, because what is anyone going to do about deep fakes at this point in time, or Grok making one piece of, awful content per second, right? So then it becomes up to us to do this. And I imagine that this will be part of our lives going forward. It'll be interesting to see the culture, the change management component of it, what the conversation is like. It's a step past what OpenAI does for their forums. When you go into an OpenAI forum, you have to be on camera. Your socials are right there. You're definitely who you say you are. To the extent, I mean,
that you can be.
Could Jimmy Jack any of this stuff, but there's that. Normal people, everyday people having little things on their screen that says, I am who I say I am.
Yeah. Interesting. So, Gwen is asking, can you use the same service the airlines use for verification to pass TSA, right? Like we are moving.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. The whole point of something like this is that our data doesn't go anywhere.
Interesting.
We're verified on our end. Passport, who I am. I haven't done deep dives into the actual technology. I'm not even sure I care that much, other than trusting them because I know them, and are really, really good people. And I just have a trust factor. Again, goes to what we're going to talk about later. We are in this trust dry zone right now, dry stretch. So, that's the secret sauce, Gwen, is that that information is not handed over to anyone. It's just on our side.
So let's, since it's 44 after the hour, let's pivot into that story, and Andy will save the news for next for tomorrow. Very exciting. And let's introduce the trust, because that piece came from Instagram's CEO. Is that true? Who wrote a post about what creators are going to need in 2026, with the backdrop of how easy it is to A, generate content, and B, generate content as somebody else, pretending to be somebody else. So, Anne, take us away. What did you,
Well, so this is one of the very few moments where my undergrad and graduate degrees in leisure studies actually comes into sharp relief as useful in my life, because this piece of authenticity and how we show up and what we do in our unpaid time is directly related to our self-identity, our quality of life, our longevity. And being in this trust dry spell is going to, I believe. So let me go back to the memo. So the memo from Adam Mosseri, who I have historically really appreciated his takes on things, is that content is just absolute commodity. You want to make an authentic video versus a polished video. Remember, like how Instagram, you had your perfect grids and everybody was on vacation and everybody was a supermodel. That transition to more TikTok-like vibes, still a little bit produced, and now it's a little less produced. But the like unlock for content creators, according to, people like Adam Mosseri, is that real, like you just flipped it on and you started talking and the angle is horrible, which we do have predecessors in this, which are the Gen Z kids who've been using Snapchat since forever and a day. My daughter and her friends trade the most unflattering selfies and videos like 30 times a day. I mean, horrible. You look horrible. And but they don't care because they want to know what your scone is like. Like they really truly don't care, and they don't have shame about it, whereas we were raised to have shame about it. So when we start getting authentic, which is what Adam Mosseri talks about, that it's not really authentic in terms of just the lighting on what's it called,
Higgsfield.
I was like Huffnagel. Higgsfield, or a shaky or blurry camera. He's saying like you can't just go that route to seem authentic because AI is going to just obviously replicate that in a heartbeat. But it's about the footprint that you've created and the community that you've created and the social proof that you have that you're a real person and that people like you and trust you and want to hang out with you. Like those are the signals that we should do business if we're thinking about it just from a business, let alone social. Like Jennifer brought up online dating, right? My God, that was a mess back before AI. And what my perception is right now, and my take is on how we will relate to one another, is that things like top of the funnel for content is, having a social media presence or other type of online presence that's verified that it's you, right? And send signals because you've got likes and engagement and whatever. It's like, this is a real person. You're not seeing bots in their comments, like a bunch of the people on LinkedIn, you've got bots in the comments, but you've got real people in your comments. So we know you're real and you're authentic, right? It's like the double. Then you move down into like the DAS Slack channel, right? Like building up that, like we're now a growing group of real human beings who interact on a daily basis and have that social proof. It's almost, it's better than even a little thing saying, you are who you say you are. But I believe that it is all a funnel toward in-person experiences. And I do believe that we will be extremely discerning about what, experiences we're willing to, transport our bodies to participate in. But that through the various ways that Adam Mosseri is pointing out, to generate true authenticity and trust, like that process, that conveyor belt toward trust is what's going to help us decide who we hang around with IRL, because we're not going to be able to just go to a random event. You're not going to go to like a happy hour with a bunch of randoms anymore. You're going to go to a happy hour with people who and you trust and you share values with and stuff like that. So that's my like whole take on the authenticity thing, is that we're building trust specifically so that at the end of the day, we can spend time together IRL.
So you can meet new people.
So you can meet people. So you can meet people you want to be friends with. Like when social media happened, it was supposed to be you meet people, right? You develop new friendships. You stay in touch with your friends. Like that kind of, devolved. But still, there's obviously some of that. And now we can make discerning, choices about who we hang around with. And those are going to be the golden moments that we're all looking to have. We're not going to be as attached to the parasocial relationships we have with creators online. Those are my thoughts on it. Those are my thoughts on it. He does advocate for the safety measures. He talks about, oh man, that our feed is not a thing. This is part of the problem, is people aren't going to your feed. They're seeing one-off videos, right? So they don't have a context to say, okay, they spoke like this, now they're speaking like this, right?
So not being able to identify
Not
that
being able
this
to
is
identify.
off.
Which, by the way, is I have theorized for a while, and pardon the like a little bit of conspiracy theory, personal, conspiracy theory, that's the reason why Sam Altman talks the way he does, is because it's so basic that when we shift it over to it's AI Sam Altman, it'll be easy. Same with his outfits, right? His little Garanimals outfits. Like, you can swap and change those. They're very, very plain. His style is not flamboyant. It's just, shirt, pants, shoes with a little lift in them. And we could just replicate that. That's my theory.
That's hilarious. Karl, this was a topic that you brought to us, which was the thing that the CEO of Instagram wrote, and Anne has said his name, and I'm not going to.
Adam Mosseri.
Yeah,
Adam Mosseri. So, what are your thoughts, Karl?
I remember this was a big thing for me, and this had nothing to do with AI specifically, but you kind of saw the aspects of this back in 2023, more so 2024, where it wasn't about AI getting into the feeds. It's just that's hypercharged, but it was more of when TikTok came on. That's why I kind of gravitate toward TikTok more, was because people were like, it felt like they were their authentic self, just talking about stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Versus when you got into Instagram or even on YouTube, it was definitely more polished. It was the feeds there, like he was saying, it was designed, I argued against this back in 2018-19. People had such a perfect feed, or their tile laid out were so like a very, like there's a specific aesthetic, and people gravitated toward that. And I gravitated to and I was talking to my wife Andrea about this, and we were saying, what people want today? They want you immediately out of bed. Your face is a mess. Everything's a mess, because that's the way they know that's authentic, right? No lighting, no nothing. You can be dark. It doesn't matter. Only just coming out and just talking about the stuff that you want to talk about, rather than all like, even I changed my approach, because I have like my gear and all that, but I'm like, what people want is like, they just want you to have like audio. The rules are still there, right? You have to have good audio so people can understand you. But other than that, you could be walking, you could be in your like the car thing, you could be wherever you are, but they just want that like the POV of like just regular people. And that's why I kind of gravitated toward that. And that was even before AI, because I think everything got to the point where like it was hard for regular people to compete with people who like have all the equipment and can produce such well-produced things. And now AI just hypercharged that, because you can there used to be a premium on people because of gear, talent, and you had to learn how to do all that 3-point lighting, like delivery, all those kind of things that you had to learn. Now you don't, right? You don't have to do any of that. In fact, the worse it is, the better it is, right?
Yeah.
You literally like, they'd rather have you get out of bed. Like, it's just funny. It's like your hair's a mess. You're like kind of bleary-eyed. Whatever it is, that's like, to me, the perfect time for you to create content. Everything else is not, right? Like, more mistakes. Like, it was funny how many times you've seen this on any feed. let's just take text posts. If your text post has run-on sentences, kind of like double periods,
Unhinged.
typos all
Yeah.
over that's real. That used to be people were like just hammering me on like posts that I would do for the company. Oh, you forgot this period. Oh, this is, I was like, just post it. And it's like, oh, we got to spell this correctly. Who cares? People know what you mean. Now it's like you have to have that stuff to be more authentic at it, right? I'm like, I add a bunch of like typos just to be like, yeah, that's real, right? You add that stuff. And then when you do video and audio, you include the include yourself drinking water, pick your nose, I don't know, whatever you want to make it as if like this is the kind of stuff that real people do, because AI makes everything a little too perfect. And I love, there was a line in there, it says, it's not the content you create, it's like the content, like the content only you can create.
Yes,
right?
that's
Everyone
the other
else,
thing.
Right.
Yeah, only you can create that content. Only Anne, Andy, Beth, Jude, Gwyn, Jennifer, how only you, what are the people, only you, like your perspective, right? Because like AI can do everything else. And I think people say, hey, this is hard. It's like, well, one, because it's hard, people put a premium on it.
Yes.
And two, it actually is easier. Because yeah, you know what? It's easy to just roll it and just start talking about random stuff. It is actually easier, but you still have to be coherent. Like it still has to kind of make sense. And you can see this, like we all love Nate Jones. Dude's just in his, like he's literally here just talking about stuff, and he just keeps going and keeps going. Very light editing, but like he would have not worked out, I would say 6-7 years ago. He would have needed like to stand out, you would need to do a lot more, but now I don't think you do. It's the opposite, right? And I think in creators it's a little bit harder to kind of, you invested all this gear, you have editor stuff, right? And there's still a place for that. Like I was talking to my business partner yesterday, and he's like, yeah, well, you know, I don't think, like we were joking, it's like, you know, for a car commercial, the last thing you want to do is have like your car commercial, someone in another car taking a video of it, you going to Safeway. That still doesn't work, right? Like they actually want a car commercial that shows you in an open road. So it would not stand. But on a regular, I think for most content, they want that. And it was always a fight with some other people back in 2021, 22. Oh, we needed highly produced. We need the
15 different angles.
The wide angle, the close angle, and the moving shots. Like no. People don't care about that today, for the most part.
So what's interesting about the car commercial, just to like jump on that, Karl, is I think actually there's a social option for that, because what we've seen is the things that have come across my feed are when you see someone setting up and obviously recording something, then that gets recorded and put up. So you do get like, hey, if anybody knows who this guy was who was doing this dance on the beach the other day, right? Like I took the video of him setting that up because that's fun social content. Yeah. And then it gets more eyeballs for what that guy did, because now we're all curious about what it looked like from his camera.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we may get there in some stuff.
But there is a place for everything too, because I think like it's very interesting where, I go back to the Avengers Doomsday trailer where a lot of people have been making their own stuff. And I thought that was really, some of the stuff they're making is really cool, right? Some of the other things that people were making, very outstanding, like because of AI, they could do that. They could do a backstory. They could do this character, the studio killed off this character, but you know what? I want to bring that. Why did they kill off that character? Like there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that. And I think that's where the creativity lies. And I think what Adam Mosseri was talking about too is it had to do the TikTokification of all the social platforms where you said, Anne, it was no longer about us connecting with our circle. It was just the socials just giving us
FYP.
just giving us like the things that media, it's essentially giving us media that we can consume, which it's just pros and cons of it. It's just what social was in 2010 is no longer social in 2020.
No, it's so different.
Very, very different.
So about the authenticity thing and the content that only you can create and the rolling out of bed, there are a couple of things I wanted to share. One is that if your goal is to attract your people to you, either for collaborations or access to what they have, or clients or whatever, right? The best thing that I have found that I can do is show up like in my disgusting bathrobe that really literally could walk itself to the Mall of America from Oregon right now. Those are the ones where people say to me, from a brand building point of view, I know that you're authentic because you show up with your hair and your eyeliner under your face. And so that part works really well. Like the people who it reaches, they're like, okay, she's for me. And I'm like, cool. Because if you're not down with that, I'm probably not your person. There are a million people who know what I know and who do what I do. If you want me to sit up straight and wear the black suits that I've worn for 33 years that I'm refusing to wear and I'm going to burn them, it's just the wrong girl. So that part is really good. But if you think still as a woman that you can show up not looking your best and get views, that's a different story. Not right now. We are not there yet. You still, I've run the A/B test like on LinkedIn. If I am not in business mode, all face, the whole face, the whole thing, the whole glam, I will not get views. And so I stopped posting on there because I don't feel like posting content that gets nothing, because it's demoralizing and I'm trying to keep my spirits up about making content. If I do that on TikTok, great. I don't know about Instagram because I haven't really tested it that much. But I think that there's still such a strong bias that women are always going to have. And plus there's also the chilling effect of us being raised to be a particular way, a lot of us to be raised to be a particular way, and the fear of trolling. And I tell women all the time, and I know we're past time, and I'll wrap it up, but I tell women all the time, don't worry about the trolls. They run up the algorithm for you. If you get trolls and they dare to say, I don't like your teeth, seriously, which is what gets said, that kind of stuff. They increase the algorithm, and so that's a good thing, right? But nobody wants to see a comment that you're not attractive enough to be showing up on social media. And I think that stigma will prevail through this. It will outlast the authentication of social media content. Women will still be judged on their appearance. I have a data point on this really quickly, which is that about a decade ago in fundraising in the larger shops, we started sending candid videos to donors. And it would be like, I'm standing in front of the building, you helped fund it, there's the construction, blah, 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 blah. Very good, like really ahead of our time. But what we found is that the videos that had the thumbnail of Black men didn't get opened. And the ones that had the videos of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, because that was the like culture of the organization, those ones got opened again and again and again and again and again.
Interesting.
And to me, that was actually my first turning point for maybe we should be using avatars, because this is unsafe, right? So you start to kind of think about what's the authenticity is really important, but also safety is really important, but also being aware of people's biases and knowing, like, do you as an organization say, you know what? We're not going to do videos of this guy because they're not getting opened. And we're going to double down on the blonde, 30-year-old. Yeah. I think that's going to continue to be the case in social media for a little while, unfortunately. It's just the way we're wired.
Wow. Okay. So we're beyond the top of the hour. Any final thoughts from Karl, Andy? Something you want to make sure that make sure that the people hear from you today?
No, I've been listening.
Hey, how powerful is that to say, right? Like, yes, absolutely.
I think the only thing that is interesting, what I think is we're moving towards is like people are recognizing it, right? And you'll have people who right now people have been saying, oh, it's so easy to it's easy to recognize AI content, but it's getting better to the point you can't recognize it. And that's true. And I think this is part of the way for people to show. I think it's on you now to show you're authentic, because I think the default will be, is that AI first, versus is like the initial thing on all socials was, is that true? But now it's like, oh, it's all, I think the onus is on you to show that it's not AI and it's authentic and it's real, right? So I think that's that makes it hard, because there's so many people I remember who came up to me, who talked to me like, hey, is your content AI? It's so good. And it's like, no, it's me. It's just like, because some of the stuff that I was doing, it was in the same background and all that kind of stuff, and I had just different shirts, right? So it's like, that's why I'm like, oh, okay, I have to change this around a bit, and how can I make it a little bit more authentic for the audience that I'm trying to reach.
Right. And that's, I'll just say, periodically we have conversations that we could be AI co-hosts, right? It is an AI show. And the ability to create avatars exists. And I am committing right now for the team that you will never see an AI co-host of our likeness. And anytime a speaker is AI, you will know, because we will announce that, because we have built this authenticity relationship. We have this background. You've seen us over the past 630 whatever episodes. We know Brian to come back, so we know what episode we're on. But we are authentic. There is a history to this. And all right. Thanks so much. This was great topic, Karl. We will be back tomorrow and Friday. More CES news. Andy teed some stuff up, so maybe there'll be some reveal tomorrow on what we didn't get to today. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today in the chat. Come back and see us tomorrow. Take care.